Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak today on Bill C-12. Conservatives have forced the Liberals to back down from Bill C-2. That bill would have given the government broad powers to access Canadians' personal information from banks, telecoms, and other service providers without a warrant. The Privacy Commissioner confirmed the Liberals didn't consult him before proposing these sweeping powers. Law-abiding Canadians should not lose their freedoms because of Liberals' overreach. Now, the Liberals have introduced Bill C-12. Conservatives will examine this legislation carefully. We need to ensure that it does not infringe on Canadians' privacy rights. We'll hold the government accountable to protect individual freedoms and ensure transparency in how it exercises power. Bill C-12 is a broad omnibus bill. It includes changes to border security, crime prevention, privacy laws, immigration, and, for example, it amends the Customs Act to allow the CBSA to use facilities free of charge for enforcement. Good for the budget. C-12 also amends the Oceans Act. It enables the Canadian Coast Guard to conduct security patrols and share information with law enforcement and intelligence partners. It increases penalties for money laundering violations and expands FINTRAC's authority. Laudable. However, it also allows for more information sharing between government departments, raising serious concerns about privacy protections. We will not allow the Liberals to quietly erode Canadians' rights in the name of administrative efficiency. Some of the most troubling parts of Bill C-2 have been removed, such as Part 4, which allow Canada Post to open any mail, including letters, without a warrant, and Part 11, which banned cash payments and donations over $10,000. Those were egregious overreaches. It was pressure from the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, that it was thankfully removed. And however, me and my Conservative colleagues believe this still falls short on many issues facing everyday Canadians. For example, Mr. Speaker, crime is rising across Canada. Since 2015, violent crime has increased by 37% in my home province of Alberta. And nationally, homicides are up nearly 28%. Gang-related homicides have risen 78%. Firearms-related violent offences have more than doubled, rising 116%. And extortion is up a whopping 400% in Alberta. Sexual assaults have increased by 75%. These are alarming trends. And the Liberals' soft-on-crime policies are making our communities less safe. Bill C-75, passed in 2019, introduced a principle of restraint on bail, granting of bail, and prioritized early release for offenders in lieu of public safety. This has led to catch-and-release practices for serious criminals, including those trafficking fentanyl and firearms. And Bill C-5, passed in 2022, repealed mandatory prison sentences for crimes involving firearms and reinstated house arrest for serious offenses like sexual assault, kidnapping, human trafficking. These changes sent the wrong messages to Canadians and put people at risk. Conservatives proposed Bill C-325 to reverse those changes and strengthen sentencing. The Liberals and the NDP voted against it. While Bill C-12 does well on filling an important loophole by banning precursors of fentanyl, it fails to address sentencing of fentanyl dealers. Tougher penalties for traffickers and producers are essential if we are serious about stopping the spread of this and other deadly drugs. The fentanyl crisis demands urgent action. From January 2016 to June 2024, over 49,000 Canadians have died from apparent opioid toxicity. Nearly 80% of those involve fentanyl. Emergency visits for fentanyl poisoning have more than doubled since 2018. This is unacceptable. Earlier this year, the Prime Minister downplayed the opioid crisis during a campaign stop in Kelowna, calling it only a challenge. That's deeply offensive to the families of the more than 49,000 Canadians who have died from overdoses in less than 10 years. We are seeing the impact in communities across the country. Just this week in Medicine Hat, police and Alert carried out a major drug bust, seizing 598 grams of fentanyl. other illicit drugs, and cash, and the amount of fentanyl alone represents nearly 300,000 fatal doses. Across Canada, fentanyl super labs are producing massive quantities of this deadly drug, and police in British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec have seized tens of kilograms of fentanyl and thousands of kilograms of precursor chemicals. These operations often include stockpiles of weapons and explosives and pose a serious threat to public safety. Yet the government's response still falls short. Without tougher sentences and stronger enforcement, fentanyl will continue to devastate families and communities. The Liberals have also refused to back down from supporting safe consumption sites near schools. My Conservative colleague from Riding Mountain called on the government to shut down these sites near children. The Health Minister suggested more might be approved, even after admitting that these locations often become hotspots for fentanyl use. Law-abiding Canadians deserve better. They deserve strong protections for privacy and freedom. They deserve laws that keep our communities safe and hold criminals accountable. They deserve a government that takes the drug crisis seriously, not one that shrugs it off as a mere challenge. Mr. Speaker, Bill C-12 also touches on immigration. Immigration and asylum. Areas where Canadians' compassion has been abused by this government. Canadians are generous and fair-minded, but that must never be taken for granted nor exploited. The Liberals have exploited Canadians for the past decade on this matter. A decade ago, Canada's asylum system was in control. The backlog accounted for fewer than 10,000 cases. Today, that number has exploded into the hundreds of thousands, and many of these claims are bogus. This is unacceptable. Let me be clear. It's wrong to jump the line. It's unfair to take advantage of a system that was built to protect people fleeing real persecution. There are Nigerian Christians who face death for their faith. There are Ukrainians fleeing war. And in decades past, Canada opened its doors to Vietnamese Boe people escaping communism. These are the people our asylum system should protect. My own father fled communist East Germany with nothing but his hands, his family, and the hope that Alberta would be a place where his children could live freely and safely. He came to Canada the fair and legal way. He never cut corners or skipped the line. But when false claims flood the system, it's real refugees and hardworking Canadians who pay the price. Our housing crisis worsens. Emergency rooms are overwhelmed. Many Canadians still don't have a family doctor. Classrooms are overcrowded, and teachers are struggling. Students are falling behind. All across the country, essential services are stretched beyond capacity, and we need a system that protects the most vulnerable, not one that rewards abuse. Our asylum system was designed to help those fleeing persecution in accordance with the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. It was never intended to become a backdoor for economic migration, but that is exactly what is happening under this Liberal government. Social media posts are now encouraging temporary residents to claim asylum as a way to stay in Canada after their student visas or their work permits expire. This is a dangerous trend, and it undermines the credibility, the capability, the fabric of our immigration system and hurts our society and hurts those who truly need Canada's protection. Bill C-12, in sections 5 through 8, proposes several changes to our immigration and refugee system. But these changes don't go nearly far enough. The bill largely shifts responsibility away from the government and onto the courts. And it permits certain actions through regulation instead of legislating clear, enforceable rules. And without strong enforcement mechanisms, meaningful change will not follow. The bill also includes a proposed change to the Safe Third Country Agreement, but fails to explain how or when it will be negotiated with the United States. And in the meantime, Canada continues to accept asylum claims from G7 countries that are safe, democratic, and fully capable of protecting their own citizens. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government's record on immigration and refugee integrity is clear. The backlog has soared, the rules are weak, and the system is being abused. Conservatives believe in a compassionate and rules-based immigration system, one that prioritizes those most at risk and treats Canadians and newcomers with respect and restores integrity to the asylum process. Future performance is best demonstrated by past behavior, and this Liberal government has not shown us anything promising in the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, only Conservatives will stand up for Canadians' individual freedoms, their safety, and the integrity of the systems that make this country strong. Thank you.
Then comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Scarborough-Walburn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for his speech today. He did bring up several concerns around asylum seekers. There's some pretty substantial changes that are being proposed in this bill in order to strengthen our asylum process system. So my question to the member, is he prepared to join Canadians in supporting a bill that will bring more integrity into our asylum system here in Canada? Yes or no?
The Honourable Member for Bull River.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the question. I think this is exactly what Canadians are expecting, but they just don't trust that the government is going to follow through on the accountability and responsibility measures to ensure that that is the outcome that will be achieved. We are absolutely in support of stronger mechanisms and stronger controls and better accountability, and I hope that a committee will be able to enforce and get those institutions corrected. Thank you.
Comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Calgary Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for what I thought was a really informative speech. The thing he mentioned in that speech, of course, was the social media posts that are actually advertising about how people get into Canada through the asylum process. Now, I'm going to ask him, does he think that this is designed, do you think that the government has designed a system that is that easily to manipulate that you actually get advertisements on social media, and who might be profiting from that system?
Honourable Member for Bull River.
Thank my colleague for the question. It's really disturbing to see this kind of thing, and I hazard to speculate on where the sources might be, but it's very obvious that a lot of agencies and people will benefit from advertising this kind of behavior and support and will profit from this kind of behavior. I would not want to say that this was deliberate, but we need to establish a system that ensures that abuse like this does not take place and cannot be tolerated. Thank you.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering if the member would apply the same principles back in 2012 when his leader of the Conservative Party was around the table, the caucus table then, where you had the Hungarians, many of which, thousands, coming into Canada, 95% of which did not have legitimate cases for asylum claimants. In fact, that's what led them to reform the system back then. Now, fast forward today, where you have things such as the pandemic, things such as the international student issue, which has been driven in good part by post-secondary institutions, private sector and public sector, and provinces. I'm wondering if he would not agree. At times, there is a need to make changes. Today, he has an opportunity to make that change by allowing C-12 ultimately to go forward. Would he not agree that that is the responsible thing to do, because at times there is a need for change like today?
Honourable Member for Bull River.
I thank my colleague for the question, and I will not agree with him. We don't believe that the changes are far enough. Yes, change needs to happen, but it does not go far enough. More. I would keep the Crown accountable. I would keep the bureaucracy accountable. We would keep the system working for the benefit of the people and to ensure that fair treatment of refugees and people fleeing persecution and abuse worldwide have a safe haven in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Markham Unionville.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for his speech. During the speech, he mentioned about the opening of private citizens' mail without warrant. Perhaps the honourable member can explain to fellow Canadians what that really means to them and their violations of privacy. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Bull River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mail is one of the most sacrosanct privacy communication methods that we have as society, right? There is the presumption of privacy in your mail. And the bar must be exceedingly high to have a judicial review on any attempt or ability of the government to interfere with that or to surveil it. I am very concerned that any weakening of privacy conditions is very problematic and prone to abuse. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Sandwich Gulf Islands.
Mr. Speaker, and my honourable colleague, welcome to this House. I think it's the first chance I've had to address the new member for Bow River. I'll miss his predecessor. We always had a good time in this place. To my honourable colleague, I just want to correct one aspect of his speech. I'm not, certainly isn't a point of order, it would be debate, but he did say only the Conservative Party will stand up. I just want to make it very clear that the Green Party also vigorously opposes C2, which is still on the order paper, and C12, which is somehow Liberal members of this place have claimed they built on C2 to come up with C12. They've subtracted some parts that were offensive in C2, but not all parts that are offensive, and the legislation is substantially the same. I think there's also, I've double-checked our parliamentary procedure, but I wonder if the honourable member for Bow River thinks that both bills should be in front of this place at the same time.
Member for Bow River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not a scholar of the standing orders. I do understand that two issues can't be debated at the same time, or two items. But so from that perspective, right, I can't comment. I would like to thank the member, though, for reminding me or correcting me on that Conservatives are the only ones that would stand for the right thing to do. Every member of this House has the potential to cross the aisle and join the Conservative Party. Well, and there may be some that we would have to be more selective with, and just like a very good asylum system. So appreciate it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the candid answer. Now, let me give the member a real challenge here. You know, the leader of the Conservative Party actually attacked the RCMP last week. What he said was actually despicable. And my question to the member opposite, does he not agree? Reflect on the institution of the RCMP, world class, recognized around the world. And yet you have the leader of the official opposition saying the things that he said, calling disrespect to our RCMP. You even now have Conservatives that are challenging him on what it is that he said. Does he believe, as I do, that the RCMP deserve the respect of all members of this House, and that the leader of the opposition owes an apology to Canadians for what it is that he said last week, which was so disrespectful towards the RCMP?
Honourable Member for Bow River.
Mr. Speaker, the RCMP indeed had a reputation globally of being absolutely top shelf. But like any institution, has the ability, is subject to the potential of management weaknesses. And you know, there are very good analogies in all over government, all over private industry, and we've seen in previous governments and even the most recent parliament that management weakness is what brought us to this place today. So I think all of us could ask for a better, you know, the best performance possible from our institutions globally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Medicine Hat, Cardston Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to my colleague for his great speech. To get us back on track for the topic at hand. Could you explain, my colleague from Bow River, the C2 was a failure to group the different topics that they had in there. C12 is a step in the right direction. However, there are serious amendments that's required in this bill. Can you just highlight, in your opinion, what you think some of the more poignant issues are that the current C12 needs to have amendments done, and we're hopeful that the government will listen to the amendments that Conservatives intend to bring forward?
Before I recognize Member Bow River, just a reminder to the member for Medicine Hat, Carson Warner, the you speak through the speaker, so to the member is the way you're supposed to word it. I thank the member. The member for Bow River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate it. And I appreciate the question from my colleague, my esteemed colleague, whom I highly respect. Bill C-12 is going in the right direction. It has merit, but the reinforcement of the accountability measures and the punishments and the treatment of people that are abusing the system and that are outright criminals, we need to ensure that there is no more bail, there's no more, that we fully follow through on all of these things. Otherwise, society will never step back.